Game week 28. I'm talking Premier League lineups. I'm going to go over injuries, going to go over some midweek lineups, going to go over a few things, go through all 20 teams of lineups for game week 28 in the Premier League. Here we go. Hey, it's Adam Zdroik of RotoWire, back for another edition of Predicted Lineups. If you're watching this for Sorare or FPL or Fantrax, whatever, we cover it all at RotoWire. We have a weekly column written by Deke Matthews on MLS. MLS in relation to Sorare. So if you play Sorare and are interested in MLS cards, we have a new weekly article up here. It's right on the front page, rotowire.com/soccer. So check that one out. That will be going up every Thursday ahead of the Friday deadline. Of course, the MLS deadline, MLS injuries are coming out at a later time. So that is unfortunate for everyone who plays Sorare, but we're doing our best at RotoWire to get all of those covered. But I'm talking Premier League here, and I'm going to be using our cheat sheet, rotowire.com/soccer trials, a 48-hour trial. We have a specific FPL cheat sheet here. And I guess I mentioned 20 teams. It is 20 teams, but there are 11 games. We have a double game week here with Bournemouth and Luton Town having two matches. I believe it is the rescheduling of the Tom Lockyer game when he unfortunately went down earlier in the season. But I'm going to be going over all of these. As you can see on the cheat sheet, we got odds up for all of these games, and there's only one. Yeah, there's one away favorite of 11 matches, I believe. Manchester City at Liverpool are the only team that is favored away from home. We got Solanke is minus 190 to score home against Sheffield United. Probably the best odds Solanke has ever had in his career to hit the back of the net. So shouts to him. Shouts to Sheffield United, who, I don't know, look like a dumpster fire. I don't know what to say there, but let's get into it here. Game week 28, Manchester United home against Everton. This is one change from the lineup against Manchester City, as everyone knows. Scott McTominay started that match in the Manchester Derby. I got Antony back in the starting 11 here because they're not going to be needing to play as defensive against Everton, a team that is, I think, bottom three right now in terms of possession. Omari Forson started a couple weeks ago. Don't think it's going to be him. I got Antony in here. I believe it was the FA Cup match that Antony actually returned to the starting 11. And then on the back line, instead of, I don't think Harry Maguire is going to be ready. That'll be something to keep an eye on. I guess I should say we've only had 3 press conferences for the week. We only got 3 on Thursday morning, and I think there's 4 teams playing in European competition still on Thursday. So if you want to look at those box scores, check those out to see what's going on with each of those teams. Otherwise, kind of in the dark here in terms of press conferences. I think that's all we're getting before Friday. There may be, a post-game presser from, I don't know, De Zerbi or someone in some of these European matches. So something to keep an eye on, but we're not going to get a ton of information on a lot of these guys who suffered injuries last week and now we have questions on. And one of those is we don't really know is Harry Maguire. Maybe we'll get some kind of information out that he's going to be he's going to be available, kind of a thing. I know I think it was put out. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Either way, so Johnny Evans at center back, he only made it, 60, 70 minutes in the Derby just because he hasn't had a ton of minutes and he wasn't really ready. It wasn't injury related. Same with Rashford. Just kind of tired a little bit, though. He's been battling a knock. It seems like every season Rashford has like some kind of minor issue and the media is like, yeah, he's battling this thing, but he's playing through it. And okay. At some point, that's just who you are. You're just always battling an injury. Either way, Lindelof in at left back, Evans here next to Varane. I don't think there's going to be many players coming back in. Otherwise, from McTominay, I don't think he's going to be starting. Everton, I believe this is the same one they used in the loss against West Ham. Again, I got Beto up for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Not entirely sold on that. I'll say it's 55-45. I guess what I'll say, Beto missed the PK, but I think he finished with 5 shots. He eventually got a goal. 5 shots, 4 on target. So, I mean, that was more opportunities than Calvert-Lewin was getting, more goals than Calvert-Lewin was scoring. So maybe he gets another start here against Manchester United. I don't think Idrissa Gueye is going to be available to start or even play. So Onana again in the starting 11. The one change possibility, I've been saying it for a couple weeks now, maybe Seamus Coleman comes in for Ben Godfrey. Uh, but Godfrey has, I don't know, 4 straight starts now. So maybe not. Actually, sorry, 6 straight starts in league play. Coleman has probably only been 100% fit for 2 weeks now, I'd say. So if there's anything, it'd be Coleman coming in for Ben Godfrey right there. Wolverhampton, a couple injuries that we just don't have the information on. Joe Gomez I think it was hamstring related. Yeah. Missed out last weekend. So again, we don't know if he's been training. We haven't had a ton of information on it. But Joe Gomez will be a question. I'd say I'm still about 60-40 on Thomas Doyle starting over to Gomez in the midfield. If Gary O'Neill comes out and says, okay, Gomez has been training all week, and then at that point, maybe Gomez will probably start again. Pedro Neto, I believe he was subbed as a precaution. I think he's going to be fine. Jose Sa, I think he had some kind of knock in his thigh. I think he's also going to be fine. So other than the midfield here, Doyle, Gomez, I don't think there's going to be any changes. Bellegarde up here because Cunha's out. We know Huang's out. Fulham. No changes outside of Paulinho back from his suspension, so I'm moving him in over Sasa Lukic. Though I do think Sasa Lukic may have an opportunity to start again. We'll see what that situation is because Fulham have played well with Lukic and Reed in the midfield there while Paulinho has been suspended. So there's a slight chance. I'd say we're maybe only maybe I'll go 60-40 in terms of Paulinho starting. I do think there's a chance Sasa Lukic gets another start just because Fulham have been playing well with this group that they have, which means we still have Iwobi on the wing. We still have Harry Wilson on the wing. We still got pretty much everyone the same. What was it, 3-0 home against Brighton? So I don't think they change outside of the Paulinho part. There's no reason to put, Harry Wilson's having a small bit of form here. There's no reason to move back in Willian into the starting 11 when they're playing this well. So I think no changes for Fulham's part. Similarly to Crystal Palace, even though they did lose in the final, 20 minutes against Tottenham. No changes here. There's no one's coming back from injury that we know. So not really anything. I know Jordan Ayew had a hip issue last game. I don't think it's anything major. Again, something to keep an eye on. There is a chance he doesn't start. If he doesn't start, probably going to move back in Edouard into the starting 11. So it'd be Eze and Edouard up here with Mateta in this number 9 role here. Otherwise, no changes in the Glasner formation. This is only his second match. Feels like I've been talking about him for a few weeks now, but there's only a second match with him as manager. So no other changes, though. No reason to make any changes. Sam Johnstone, Dr. Johnstone, getting some starts. Luton Town, first team. I'll talk once we get to the final 11th match. I will touch on the double game week for Luton Town and Bournemouth. But Luton Town, so we do have some injury concerns here. I don't think Tahith Chong is anything major, so I think he's good to start. Townsend came back in the starting 11 last weekend. I don't believe Adebayo is going to be available, but again, we'll see what Edwards has to say on it. Amari Bell was a question going into last week's game with a hamstring issue. Made it, I think it was 6 minutes, and left with probably the same hamstring issue. Doubt he's going to be available. So we're looking at Mengi, Burke. But we do have options. I will say we had more options than we had last week. So I guess that is one of the questions. Joe Johnson came on for Amari Bell in the FA Cup. I think it was against Manchester City. Joe Johnson here came on for him. I don't believe he's actually played in league play. He has not. I'd be surprised if he starts this one, but he might be their only other center back available. There is a slight chance. I'll say 25% we got Joe Johnson. Gabriel Osho also picked up some kind of injury last week. So this will be something to watch out for with Rob Edwards' press conference because as I have it right here, Alfie Doughty played more defensively once Amari Bell went off. And then we have Kabore and Agbene playing on the wings. So something to keep an eye on. I don't know how much that affects Doughty's stats because he's going to still be splitting set pieces. But obviously something to monitor here, especially in a matchup against Crystal Palace. So definitely check out Edwards' press conference, see what the situation is with Johnson and Osho. If If Osho's out, I'd say we're still looking at 25% chance that Johnson starts, because even though he's more of a center back than Doughty is, you'd just rather have your top players on the pitch when you're fighting for your Premier League lives than playing someone who does not have a lot of experience. So Bournemouth home against Sheffield United. Bournemouth, I guess, yeah, we got one change here. So Chris Mepham into the starting 11 because Senesi picked up an injury last week. I think it was muscle related. Yeah, hamstring issue. So hamstring, he's going to be out for a few weeks there. And I think that's the main thing. Lloyd Kelly, we haven't really gotten a ton of updates on him in the past month. So got to assume Kirkesh is getting another start. Otherwise, all the same here for these Bournemouth guys. Solanke's playing through his knee issue, but he sounds like he's just going to keep playing through it. I said it last week. He's a warrior. He plays through minor injuries, and he's going to continue to do that because the scan showed it wasn't anything major. It's not going to get worse, so he's going to be in there again. Sheffield United, I don't know. Throw your hands up. Take a guess. I think after the match, the 6-0 match against Arsenal on Monday, Chris Wilder said maybe it's time to give some of these youngsters some run. That could mean Arblaster. Ali Arblaster, I think he was at Cheltenham Town. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else. Either way, Arblaster is some young kid. They returned. No, actually, I think I'm sorry, I'm getting all my players mixed up. But either way, Arblaster came on. He is an option to come in, but given the comments of Wilder, I moved back in Andre Brooks to the starting 11. I moved back Asula into the starting 11. We still got Hammer. We still got McAtee, Bogle. I moved in Baldock to center back just based off of, who is it? Anel Hamedovic was subbed off in the second half of Sheffield United's last game. So maybe that's a sign of some more rotation here at this point. You just blow up everything for Sheffield United. There's still not many changes because there's just not that many changes they could do. Look at all these injuries they have. It's not like they can rotate a ton here. So are you playing any of these guys in fantasy? I don't know. If you are, good luck. But this is what my lineup looks like. Arsenal, they need Aaron Ramsdale into the starting 11 because David Raya is loan locked against Brentford. Otherwise, it's the same squad here. I was initially going to give Gabriel Jesus a start for Arsenal because they have that Porto match coming up. But I thought about it, and I was like, I think Arteta just wants to keep using this Kai Havertz more forward role, Jorginho in the midfield. He kind of wants to keep using this lineup as long as it's working, as long as these guys are healthy, because that's the lineup he's going to use against Porto. I think that's the lineup that's going to unlock them to score goals against Porto. So I think he's just going to keep this same lineup, and we'll see about Martinelli. He had, I think it was a cut to his foot, subbed out in the Sheffield United match. Saka subbed off after 45 also in that match, but that was because of an illness. This is 5 days later. I assume 4 or 5 days later. I assume he's going to be fine. Martinelli, if he doesn't start, I say this is another 60-40 situation with Martinelli. If he isn't ready to start, we're looking at Trossard starting there on the left wing, but I think he's going to be fine. Just a little, I don't know exactly what it was, a cut. It wasn't like a muscle. It wasn't like his bone or something like that. I think it was just like a cut in his foot. I think he's fine. Otherwise, Brentford, I don't think I made any changes to this one because what happened in their last game? 2-2 match. That's right. In the second half, they came back against Chelsea. A pretty decent performance there against Chelsea. So Ivan Toney up front, Johan Bisa alongside him. That means Maupay's on the bench. We got an update on Mbomo getting some training in this week, but he basically said he still has a couple weeks to go, which makes sense. Again, I have Onyeka, Frank the Tank over Matthias Jensen in the midfield. I think that's kind of been working a little bit. He's a little more of a defensive player, a defensive midfielder that I think is helping a little bit there instead of Matthias Jensen in the midfield. I think they kind of run with that again. If not, we would see, I don't know, between Norgard and Janelt moving out. Maybe Janelt's more likely to move out. You'd have to look back at their FA Cup match. I think it was Janelt that rested in that one. Mads Rurslev had a crazy performance in that Chelsea game, got the goal, had a few shots as well. Otherwise, they got so many injuries. This is what their back line still looks like. Ajer, Zanka, and Nathan Collins. Aston Villa, they are actually playing as we speak. And Diego Carlos he's actually on the bench. So we have him as out. So I'm actually gonna check that one out because he returned to training this week and he is on the bench today. So he's been out for a little bit with a hamstring injury. So he's another option. So today in this what are they, Europa Conference League game? So Longlet, Pau Torres, and Ezri Konsa all started. So that has me kind of thinking they may actually go to Matty Cash at right back for this game. So I definitely don't think this is for certain. Luca Dina is starting Thursday. John McGinn was rested. Morgan Rogers actually started instead of Zaniolo because they do have that injured Jacob Ramsey. So we do definitely have questions. So I'll say 50-50 on Zaniolo starting over. And then the other side of that is Morgan Rogers, who they just signed for Middlesbrough. Jacob Ramsey, I don't think he's going to be ready to start here. He picked up this. I think he picked up the injury last week. Hasn't been training, so doubt that. The back line is the interesting part here. So I think Longlet's going to be in there. I think Konza is going to be in there. There's a ton of games coming off his injury. Pau Torres might be the big question here. And I don't think Diego Carlos is going to be ready to start either. So I think it's either going to be these three guys who are all starting on Thursday. We'll see if any of them rotate off or sub off. Or we're going to get Pau Torres on the bench with Ezri Konsa center back and Matty Cash right back. I think that's what they did actually last week against Luton Town. Yep, there it is. Konsa went 90 at center back. Yeah, okay, that's right. Tottenham. What do we got for Tottenham? So I don't think Pedro Porro is going to be ready to go again. We know Udogi's back. Pape Star is dealing with some kind of issue in his back, so he didn't start last week. I don't think he's going to start again. So it's Bentancur and Basuma in the midfield, and this is the front four. We know Brendan Johnson is an option to either start for Werner or Kulishevsky, but I think this is the same group that they ran out last time, and I think the sub. What was it? I think Brendan Johnson actually subbed on for Bentancur in that last game. Obviously, that was probably when they're down 1-0 or something like that. When you add in, when you need to go for goals, that's when Brendan Johnson subs in for Bentancur. But otherwise, it's pretty similar for Tottenham. Brighton are another team playing right now, and we saw this last week with whatever I think they threw out 6 defenders in that game at Fulham. De Zerbi is one of the harder managers to project because he rotates a ton, and it's impossible to expect how he's going to rotate. I think they had Van Heck playing as a central midfielder, a defensive midfielder in that game against Fulham. Just impossible to project here, but let's go through. So Dunk and Van Heck starting today, they're pretty much locks. Gross is another guy who's dropped last week just for rest. So I got Baleba in here. I had Jakob Motor in, but I guess Baleba gets the nod. I think he went about 70 minutes last week against Fulham. Not really confident either way because Billy Gilmore is still suspended. So I'd say maybe 60-40 on Baleba over Jakob Motor. And then we got Adingra and Buonanotte on the wings. And so on Thursday, we have Julio Enciso is starting. He also started last week at Fulham, but he's starting Thursday. So I highly doubt, given how long he's been out, that he's going to start 3 games in the matter of 8 days or whatever it is. So I got Evan Ferguson here up front with Danny Welbeck a little bit behind him. So this is a 4-2-3-1. Also, Tariq Lamptey is starting Thursday. Estupinian went 90 last week, and so I got Estupinian at left back, Joel Veltman at right back. Again, very hard to project here. Igor is starting at left back today. Lamptey starting at right back. So this is what I got. Just a bit of rotation from Thursday because we already know that De Zerbi likes to rotate when his guys are tired. And I think that this is kind of what we're going to be looking at. But again, I don't know, my confidence level 50 to 60% on a lot of these positions because it's just so difficult here. Nottingham Forest, Toffolo returned to the starting 11 last week. He took the spot of Niakate basically at left back. Again, Omobami Dele also returned to the starting 11. Willy Boley has actually been training this week, so something to keep an eye on. I'd say, again, another player I'm about 50% sure that Omobami Dele is going to start here, but they played decent enough against Liverpool. Maybe should have gotten a point out of that one. Felipe has been an option. Willie Boley, is he going to be ready to start after a month out or so? Nicholas Dominguez, I think he's fine. Took a knock to his thigh, but I think he's been training this week, so I think he's going to be good to go. Ryan Yates started last weekend, but again, this was after FA Cup matches, so I think Danilo is going to take the spot of Ryan Yates. And maybe just a personal opinion here, but I think they're going to move out. They're going to move out Divock Origi, even though Nuno has been hyping him a bunch. I just think you got to start Taiwo and Awani when he's healthy, when he's rested, over Divock Origi. So that's who I got up front, along with Hudson Odoi, Gibbs White, Alanga. West Ham, they do play later today. Their lineup's coming out in about 45 minutes here, but no changes here for them. Coming off that win against Everton, not really many players to actually change in the lineup, so no surprises. Burnley, Burnley are Burnley. What are we going to do? Vitinho started in a midfield role last game. Josh Brownhill's back from a suspension, so he's probably going to come in. You move out Josh Cullen from the starting 11. I also moved out Brun Larson from the starting 11, and Gudmundsson also not in here, so I got a pretty young team here. Odo Bear, I'm moving back in. Downey into the starting 11. Yeah, okay. Look at him. Downey starts 45 minutes, 37 minutes, 21 off the bench. It's just, I don't know. It's a lost cause. I've been saying it all season. I probably had a chance to buy Nathan Tella, their best player last season in the championship, and they didn't do it. So this is what they're dealing with. Now Nathan Tella is on Leverkusen. Liverpool. All right, now we got the match of the weekend here. So Liverpool currently playing, and so this is going to make some of my changes. I moved Salah in today. Salah is on the bench Thursday. We'll see if he gets some minutes. They're at Sparta Prague. And, okay, so Robertson also starting, but I think he's going to get subbed off early. We're about 30 minutes into that game, so I can't really comment on that. Konate, Van Dijk. Another change I made, so I put Connor Bradley in at right back over Joe Gomez. Joe Gomez is starting today. I think it's interesting that I thought Connor Bradley was going to start today, and then we'd see Joe Gomez start in this game. But the fact that Connor Bradley is on the bench Thursday, I think it's almost more likely that we're going to get Connor Bradley at right back against Manchester City. So maybe his pace helps a little more against whoever's on the wing for Manchester City. Also today, Endo and McAllister in the starting 11. I think those guys are going to be in there. I think Szoboszlai, no matter how many minutes he gets Thursday, he's coming off the bench. I think he's going to be available to start. And then Diaz, Nunez, Salah. I'm dropping Gakpo to the bench. Gakpo is starting up front with Diaz and Nunez on Thursday. So that's what I got there. So there are obviously questions with Salah, Szoboszlai, Bradley. Those are probably the main questions. Otherwise, I think that's kind of what we're looking at there. Manchester City, no real surprise. I think this is almost what they had last week in the derby outside of Doku. Doku has some kind of minor issue in his thigh. Either way, Julian Alvarez played on the left wing in Wednesday's Champions League game. And I think Pep was kind of trying it out a little bit, seeing what Alvarez could do from the wing. Turned out he had a goal coming in off that left side there. So I got Alvarez on the left wing, which is a little different, though. I mean, it's Manchester City, so these guys are going to, float around. Bernardo Silva floats around the entire pitch, basically. Otherwise, I mean, this is kind of what we're looking at. John Stones, I don't believe he started midweek, so he's going to be in there. Diaz, Ake, Walker. We'll see if Josko Vardiel starts 2 times in a week, come back from injury. Probably won't, so this is kind of what we're looking at here. Akanji, also an option, but again, he did start. I believe Akanji started over Ake. Maybe Diaz started, I think. Yeah, so we're looking at Diaz, Ake, Akanji, and Vardiel are the other 2 options. But I think I'm good with this. But otherwise, yeah, Doku off the bench. Grealish is going to be out. Nunez not going to be starting this one. So pretty similar lineup to that derby. Chelsea, we got news today, this morning, that Chilwell has some kind of knee injury. We don't have any information on it. Colwill has some kind of foot injury. So 2 guys who've been starting a ton in the past month are out for this one. So that moves back. Thiago Silva is probably going to be back in the starting 11. Again, no guarantees here, but they did use 3 center backs last week. I think that was in league play. So Chaloba actually got the start in that game. I think that was at Brentford there. They kind of matched the three center back lineup. I think Gallagher is going to be fine. Sterling also had an illness last week, so he didn't start at Brentford. Gallagher has an illness right now. He hasn't trained, but this game is Monday. I'm talking Thursday, so he's got a couple more days. I think he's going to be good to start. So I think there's no questions here, but we're going to have something. Are we going to get three center backs again and move someone like Sterling on, even kind of deeper in a deeper role? Or are we going to start Cucurella, who is, I think he was out, 1 to 2 months with an ankle injury, was on the bench last week, hasn't seen a ton of time, but honestly, they don't really have anyone else. The other options, Body Sheely. Sorry, Body Sheely is actually still out, so never mind about that one. Yeah, so it's not a ton of options, but Thiago Silva back in. Does Cucurella start, or do they put Chaloba back in there and do three center backs? Something to keep in mind. Newcastle, we had a rumor, we had a report, and it hasn't been confirmed by Newcastle yet, but Trippier is going to be out until the international break. So if that's the case, we're going to get Livramento in the starting 11 at right back. I'm keeping Joe Willock in the starting 11. He started last week, and they won, so that's a positive. He started over Lewis Miley. Jacob Murphy started over Miguel Almiron. I think that's kind of what we're looking at, though. Didn't have a midweek match to worry about. Full week of rest. Livramento in for Trippier, easy enough. Then we're getting to the double game week here. Bournemouth home against Luton Town. So usually Bournemouth on short weeks, guys like Tavernier don't start twice in the matter of like 4 days. So that's where some change leads in. There's not really any changes on the back line because no one else is healthy, unless Lloyd Kelly returns to the bench Saturday. Maybe he's going to be an option to start this one. I guess that you can keep an eye on that. Cook, Christie, those guys kind of start a lot. I'm putting Alex Scott in for the start over Clivert, and then Sinistera starting over Tavernier. And then there's a slight chance I may move out Semenyo, but Semenyo has been playing well. So there could be someone else. They signed someone else from Ligue 1. Who did they sign? Escaping my mind here. Let's actually just click into a name here and see if we can find who I'm talking about. Well, of course, they got Enes Unal. I don't know if Enes Unal is going to start. They still have Dango. Dango has not played a lot. Who am I thinking of? Favor. Romain Favor here. Hasn't played a ton with Bournemouth, but they signed him in the transfer window. Played 10 minutes. I don't think he even started a cup match or anything, but he is an option to start over someone like Semenyo. But the fact that he doesn't have a ton of time leads me to say probably not going to start. But that's what I got with this one. Maybe Solanke start. Maybe Solanke doesn't start. But I'm kind of under the impression Solanke is a warrior. He will fight through his knee injury. If he doesn't start, Enes Unal would probably be in the 11 in this one. Luton Town, again, I mentioned it earlier with all the injury information on the center backs. That's going to decide a lot of this, but we know guys like Barkley, maybe even Clark, Morris, just out of necessity because there's so many injuries that there's not a ton of rotation they can do anyway. So a lot of these guys, they're playing for their Premier League lives. They're going to be starting both these matches. But anyways, that's all I got for game week 28. All right, game week 28, rotowire.com/soccer trial, 48-hour trial. I've been using this cheat sheet here. Arsenal, almost 80% chance to win home against Brentford. Bournemouth are the second and third biggest favorite home against Sheffield United and Luton Town. Just incredible matchups here for double game week. The question comes down to, is a guy like Solanke going to get 2 starts? I don't think Tavernier is going to get 2 starts. I don't think Kluivert's going to get 2 starts. I'm 50% on Semenyo actually getting 2 starts, but Cook, Christie, how much do you want to play those guys for 2 starts? Kirkesh, all these guys probably will get 2 starts because of the other injuries on the back line. But that's all I got here. Make sure to check out our cheat sheet. We got goal odds, we got free kick tracker, we got all this. Thank you for watching. You can find me at Zdroik on Twitter with any questions, or at RotoWire Soccer as well. Good luck in Sorare. Good luck in FPL. Good luck in Fantrax. Good luck with whatever fantasy Premier League game you play. Have a good weekend. Make sure to tune in to our betting show Friday, 10 a.m., 10:30 a.m. Eastern. That is on our YouTube channel. Me and Chris Owen, we have a betting show. We'll give out 8 bets on that show. We also have plenty of DFS content over at RotoWire. Probably going to have another show for Saturday's slate as well. Good luck, everyone. Enjoy the week.